Welcome to this video on the IHA Officiating Standard for women's and non-body checking ice hockey for the 2022-2023 season. This officiating standard is taken directly from the IIHF Officiating Standard utilized at IIHF World Championships. This presentation on the officiating standard provides information and video examples on both legal and illegal plays to ensure a consistent standard can be called and player safety kept to a high standard. Maintaining and controlling the standard at which officiating operates brings the game of ice hockey to a level where the skills of the players determine the outcome of games, plus promotes a strong image of our sport for the fans, media, spectators, and the promotion of our sport for more people to participate. This officiating standard is not a zero-tolerance policy in the assessment of penalties. Game officials should utilize game management to allow the player's skill to shine. Intimidation tactics have no place in ice hockey. These tactics include any contact to the head of the opponent, checking from behind, and late body checks to an opponent who is no longer in control of the puck. Officials are instructed to enforce these rules to a high standard and assess the appropriate penalty when these actions occur. Officials are expected to strictly enforce any avoidable contact occurring after the whistle, including during scrum situations around the goal. Player safety is always the priority. In this section, we will go through physical play aspects of ice hockey. In women's and non-body checking hockey, competitive body contact between players is allowed if the contact does not cross the line of where the force of contact is deemed a check. Legal body contact is defined by two skaters that are trying to gain possession of the puck and who are using their body to push and lean into the opponent. Possession of the puck remains the sole object of the contact.
In this rule information video, we go a little bit more in depth into the physical play and what is allowed or not allowed in the form of body checking within women's ice hockey. It is important to start with that body contact between players in women's hockey is allowed and that the sole purpose of that contact must be to gain possession of the puck from the opponent. The contact is limited to actions of force such as shoving and leaning towards an opponent into the situations. And as we can see in this particular situation, the white player must adjust her speed and distance to the opponent to enable a safe and fair body contact. The player must go into the contact with the sole purpose of gaining possession of the puck by leaning into the opponent. As we can see in this situation, the player is using a force that is not leaning or pushing towards an opponent. It is a body check and shall be penalized. In this other example, we see a battle between the black player and the player in the white team. The player number 22 goes into the situations where they're battling for the puck already, and she must go in with the sole purpose of the contact to play the puck. She can use force to do this, but it has to be of a character of leaning in towards an opponent. As this player is already engaged in a contact and the force of the hit is higher than expected, this is to be penalized as an illegal hit. In the following examples, we will see a good body contact between players. In this first example, number 22 in the red team goes in. She goes in and tries to play the puck. She has the intentions to play the puck from the opponent, and she's using her body to make contact with the opponent, but in a way where she is leaning in towards the opponent and using a physical force that is not going over the limit of body contact. This is a good body contact to separate the player from the puck. In this other situation, we see how the player in the blue team and the white team is battling for a loose puck. Both are competing down towards the puck and they are engaged in the battle for the puck. Neither player is breaking their skating lane or goes into the situation by any bigger force than leaning towards the opponent. Both players are using their strengths, and in this particular situation, blue player is using her strength and leans in towards the opponent to win the battle for the puck.
Game officials must use their judgment to grade the severity of the contact based on the following factors when determining what sort of penalty shall be imposed: the force of the contact made by the checking player, the speed used to move into the situation by the checking player, the contact point on the opponent by the checking player, the usage of the boards as a means to add force and power in the situation, the possibility for a checked player to maintain her skating position. We will now watch two videos which will provide examples of minor penalty for illegal hit, followed by examples of a major penalty for illegal hit.
In this instructional movie, we will go more in depth into the standard of calling minor penalties for illegal hit. In this first situation, we will see how the player in the black team enters a situation with a player in the yellow team. The black player is using more force in this situation than what is necessary and needed for gaining possession of the puck. The player is using more force than leaning and shoving the opponent in that body contact situation. This is a good example of when a minor penalty for illegal hit should be assessed. In this second situation, we see how the player in the yellow team is initiating a contact that is also of a higher force than leaning and shoving. The yellow player uses a speed and force that is still seen as low in the action, but is high enough to take this from a legal body contact to an illegal body contact. In this last situation, we will see how the player in the white team enters a battle for puck possession with a player from the red team. The player in the white team is using force and speed that is higher than allowed when it comes to making body contact with an opponent. In this situation, the white player needs to adjust the speed and force into the situation and the contact. In this situation, a minor penalty for illegal hit shall be assessed. In this rule information video, we go a little bit more in depth about the standard of calling major penalties for illegal hit. In this first situation, we will see how the black player is passing, shooting away the puck, and gets checked by the opponent. The yellow player has time to adjust her position and speed as the player in the black team releases the puck. The yellow player is using a force into the contact that is seen as excessive and recklessly endangers the opponent. This situation shall be penalized with a major and game misconduct for illegal hit. In this second situation, we will see how a player in the black team plays the puck around the corner and gets body checked by a player in the white team. As we can see in this video, black player in the puck possession is going towards the boards and try to protect the puck. The white player is using force into the contact that is seen as excessive and recklessly endangering the opponent. In this situation, the white player needs to use less force into the check to make this a legal body contact. This situation shall be penalized with a major plus game misconduct for illegal hit. In our third and last video, we'll see how the player in the red team and yellow team battles for the puck down by the boards. The yellow player can find a different way to make body contact and a different impact point and force to gain puck possession in the situation. In the situation, the yellow player is using a force that is seen as excessive and recklessly endangers the opponent. This situation is a good example of a major penalty plus game misconduct for illegal hit.
Ice hockey is a game of high speed with quick changes of position. Extra awareness is required to ensure the knee is not used when stopping or checking an opponent. This type of checking constitutes high carelessness and potential for high recklessness and endangers an opponent. A penalty should be enforced when a player is leading with their knee and/or extending their leg outwards to make contact with their opponent.
In this rule information video, we go a little bit more in depth in a specific physical aspect. We will look a bit more into situations connected to kneeing. Kneeing is in general a very dangerous action, connected with a high risk of injury, but there is still differences between minor penalties and major penalties called for kneeing. In this video, we will see an example of a minor penalty. As we can see, the white player leads in with her knee into the contact. She makes a direct contact with the opponent with her knee. This is with low force and low speed and seen as a minor penalty for kneeing. In this situation, we see a white player that has plenty of other options to avoid the contact and impact point. White player still continues to lead in with her knee into the situation and makes a direct contact with the opponent with her knee. The player comes in a high speed and with a great force, connected with a high risk of injury and recklessly endangers the opponent. In this situation, the white player shall be assessed a major plus game misconduct penalty for kneeing.
We will now change focus to the standard of rules that fall under restraining fouls. To use the stick as a tool to gain possession of the puck from an opponent. This is a natural part of the game and predominantly the main way a player gains possession from an opponent. A player is not allowed to use the stick in an illegal way, as described in hooking and slashing, where contact is obvious, a benefit is created, or there is a risk of injury. This picture aims to map out clearly where the risk areas of using the stick towards an opponent are located. If the player uses their stick to gain possession from their opponent in the green area and is using reasonable force, there is a very low risk of being penalized for hooking or slashing. As soon as the player reaches the yellow area, the risk increases that there is an action that may result in a penalty associated with hooking or slashing. When the player enters the red area or in any other way uses their stick against the body to slash or hook an opponent, there is a very high risk that a hooking or slashing will be called.
In this rule information video, we target a bit more information concerning the IHF standards on restraining fouls, and in particular, slashing and hooking situations. Let's start first with hooking. It is important to note that players are allowed to use the stick-on-stick action to battle for the puck. But in no way can a player use her stick in a way to target gloves, body, etc. to restrain movement and speed from an opponent. In this situation, we will see how the white player trails behind the red players and uses her stick in a way that is not allowed. As we see from this situation, the player positions her stick between the hands and up towards the hands on the opponent player. The player loses the ability to play the puck and to move. This is a minor penalty for hooking. In this next situation, we will see how the white player from behind uses the stick up towards the gloves of the opponent. In this situation, the white player's stick comes up too high towards the opponent's gloves to make this a legal play. It is important to note that when the player uses stick towards an opponent, she has to play towards the green area. As soon as the stick goes up towards the yellow area, the risk increases for a hooking penalty. As soon as the stick goes up and restrains an opponent, to play and move up in the red area, a penalty may be called from the game officials. This is a minor penalty for hooking. In the examples of slashing, we will see how the red player uses her stick to play up towards the hands of the opponent. Just when we talked about hooking, the sole purpose have to be to win possession of the puck and to use the stick to play towards the puck. As soon as the stick is played up towards the red area, the referee may call a slashing penalty, especially if this action creates a benefit for the player using the stick that high. To avoid called penalty for slashing, the player has to go towards the green area and towards the puck to play against the opponent. This is a minor penalty for slashing. This can also be if the opponent is not a puck carrier. In this situation, we see how the player is using a slashing action towards an opponent to create an advantage and a benefit. In this way, where the player is losing her stick. This is a minor penalty for slashing.
Using the body to compete for possession of the puck is an essential part of the game. A player is not allowed to use any part of the body in an illegal way to grab, push, or shove an opponent to gain possession of the puck. This is covered under holding and roughing. A penalty may be called where contact is obvious, a benefit is created, or there is a risk of injury.
Welcome to this IHF instructional video concerning restraining fouls and the standard in regards to holding situations. In this video, you will see a number of situations connected to the situations of holding. It is important that players are not allowed to use any free hand or any way their hands and body to hold an opponent and stop their movement and possibility to skate or play the puck. In this particular situations, you will find two players battling for the puck and the puck possession. But in these situations, the player number 3 in the black team takes one hand of her stick and uses the free hand to slow down the opponent. This is not a legal action and shall be penalized with a minor penalty for holding. In this second situations, you will find two players battling alongside the boards. These players are battling for a free puck, but where the player number 25 in the black team uses her body in a way that is not approved to be able to stop the opponent from playing the puck and moving freely. As we see here in the situations, the player is using the free arm to prevent the opponent to move freely, and the player number 25 in the black team is also using her leg to pinch the opponent towards the boards. This makes it impossible for the player in the yellow team to move freely and play the puck. This shall be penalized as a minor penalty for holding.
Regardless of where the puck and players are, the goal is always to keep players and the puck in motion. A player that uses their body and/or the boards to cover or stop the puck and making it impossible to play or shows no attempt to play the puck and keep it moving may be penalized for delaying the game.
In this rule information video, would we like to highlight a situation where a player is purposely stalling and slowing down the game. In this situation, we will see how players ending up around the puck that is gathered down in the corner. It is important that the players, and in this case the white player that is pushing the puck towards the boards, is in continuous motion trying to free and play the puck. A player that is on purposely standing or pushing the puck towards the boards, making no intention to play the puck, may be penalized for delaying the game. This is extra important that we all work on keeping the puck in motion, both to have an attractive hockey, but also to minimize the risk for other types of infractions.
Game officials are instructed to strictly follow the rules outlined in the rulebook concerning abuse of officials and unsportsmanlike conduct. Any sort of abusive behavior, regardless of the situation or whom it is directed towards, shall be penalized according to the rules. There is no place in ice hockey for obscene gestures, racial slurs or taunts, or sexual remarks during or after the game, on or off the ice and any location, while in the arena and its connected premises. Any player who blatantly dives, embellishes a fall or a reaction, or who feigns an injury shall be penalized with a minor penalty. It is important to distinguish the difference between diving and embellishment. Diving is the action of a player trying to draw a penalty against an opponent, while embellishment is the act of a player attempting to make a foul look bigger than it is, even though the foul has been committed.
In this rule information video, we will give you a few examples under the rule of diving and embellishment. Diving is when a player is completely making up something that happens out on the ice, while an embellishment is when a player making something look bigger or that adds on force or movement from a situation that is more than what it was actually needed. In this situation, we see how a contact happens between the red player and the white player, and where that contact makes the white player fall. Watching this situation, the contact is not in proportion with how the player is falling. This is a typical example of a player that uses an embellishment to draw a penalty and draw the attentions from the game officials. This situation is a minor penalty for diving and embellishment. It is important to note that contact may happen and that the important part is that the player is not exaggerating in their reaction from the contact. We have here an example on that on the blue player that ends up in a contact with white player and falls a lot easier than the actual contact that is initiated by the opponent.
Thank you for watching this officiating standard video. Your commitment to improving your understanding of the officiating standard for the 2022-2023 season is commended. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the IHA Referee-in-Chief.